to a meeting of Republican leaders discuss the possibility of a brokered convention. You just heard about that, too. Neil Cavuto spoke with the candidate moments ago.
What would bring you to the point of saying, I'm no longer Republican?
Yeah, well, if it became clear that they were using, various types of procedures to get around the will of the people, I would leave. I just wouldn't want to be a part of it.
Would you stop being a Republican?
I don't know, but I might go back to being an independent.
Joining me now, Rich Lowry, editor of the National Review, Fox News contributor, Steve Forbes and Gina Loudon are back as well. Rich, I'll start with you. What do you make? I mean, we were all laughing while we were listening to Trump say his thing. What do you make of all that?
Well, unfortunately, it's true. He basically does just go up. Well, occasionally his head dips, but he goes back up.
I'm not one of those guys that goes down. They go down. I go up.
I don't want to exaggerate because I think a brokered convention is still extremely unlikely. But we're beginning to see the fissures and hear some of the rhetoric of a party that is on the verge of a meltdown and a civil war. I don't think it's going to happen. But if the establishment has to try to muster its forces to block Donald Trump at the convention, that is a party that's going to lose the general election.
Steve Forbes.
I don't think we're going to get a brokered convention.
You don't?
No.
You don't, because there's more and more people saying that now.
Well, the fact of the matter is, if Trump wins the primaries, he will get the nomination even if the so-called establishment is against him. In the past, they've tried to unite against a candidate. I saw it in 1964 when they tried to stop Barry Goldwater. It failed miserably. The voters will make the choice. Now, if Trump doesn't get a majority of the delegates, conceivably you could have a brokered convention, but then you're going to have a legitimate result. It's not going to be a backroom deal. Those things went out in this day and age. You imagine having a backroom deal? First, you can't smoke, and so it ain't going to happen. They can have all the dinners they want on the expense of party donors, by the way.
Yeah, Gina, I hear you laughing.
Yeah, well, I have to commend Dr. Carson. This was a great show of strength for him. I bet we'll see this strength reflected rather in the poll numbers because he stood up to the party in a way that they need to be stood up to. I think that conservatives should be asking the question, what is it about a Trump, a Carson, or a Cruz candidacy that the establishment and the Democrats are so very afraid of? So if I were advising conservatives out there right now, I'd say if you're for either one of those three candidates, you keep your powder dry right now. You don't be hurling insults. You be following the lead of your candidate who is not criticizing any of those other three, because I think this has come down to an establishment versus the people kind of a fight.
But Rich, I think that the people that are talking about this against Trump, what they're afraid of is that he can't win a general. I mean, isn't that a lot of what they're worried about? This is all fun and games and it's entertaining, but we're afraid that we send him up against Hillary Clinton and he just loses and then the party dissolves because they've been out of power for so long.
Right. They worry about a debacle in the general election.
Right.
But the same people thought there was no way he could win the nomination. So if he actually wins the nomination, a lot of the rules have been upset. Look, I think this dinner is being exaggerated, the RNC had, but there is no trick the establishment is going to be able to pull to stop Donald Trump. You need another candidate to go out and outmaneuver him or just beat him in the argument. It's that simple. And if no one can do that, well, the question answers itself.
Steve, is there somebody who can come forward and surge and take the momentum away from him? Because, I mean, he's had it for a long time now.
What's amazing about all these candidates, they're substantive. Most of them have had a long career in politics, and they don't seem to know how to practice politics, which Reagan showed how you do. That is, you have a theme, you have exciting proposals, you know how to put them out there. They have some good ideas, some of them, but they haven't put together a theme. With Trump, make America great again. Jeb Bush, I don't know. Cruz, I like some parts of them. It's wishy-washy, not wishy-washy. It just is a blank. They haven't broken through in terms of a theme, in terms of, like Kennedy said, getting America moving again.
I don't think that's
they haven't
true
done it.
of Cruz.
Why?
I think Cruz is really getting traction, and Cruz's theme has been pretty consistent throughout. I'm going to break up the Washington cartel. So it's playing to the same kind of populist.
His theme is Trump's coattails, though. I mean, that's what it's felt like
breaking up
so
the
far.
Washington cartel, even though he's got some good proposals like on the Federal Reserve, that's not enough. Reagan just didn't say, I'm against the Soviet Union. He had a plan to do it and outlined how he would do it.
Okay. We got to go.
And don't forget, Steve, too, that the last time this happened was with Reagan. So I think this is looking like a very Reagan-esque convention coming up. I think it's a good thing.
Okay, we got to go, David.
Yeah, because we have some breaking news. The San Bernardino
strong foreign policy, and so he could work with these people.
And Gina, look at what happened with the Russian reset by Hillary Clinton and President Obama. That didn't turn out so well.
No, and I'll tell you, this is why. It was about Reagan focusing on what government is supposed to focus on, which is national security. And this president and this administration, Hillary included, have focused on everything except national security. Reagan made government smaller and made people like government more. Obama has made government huge and has made the American people not want that anymore. So that's what happens when you grow government. It's never a positive outcome.
Alan, there's another show called Outnumbered. In this case, you're the outnumbered guy. I'm going to give you the last word. Go ahead.
Reagan grew government. He did huge spending. Did the Star Wars defense system. He spent a huge amount of money on military. Bush grew government, started 2 wars. So don't tell me about Republicans not building government.
Who said to give that guy the last word? Who said? Oh, wait a minute.
I said President Reagan focused on what was supposed to focus on. That's a different thing, Alan.
Steve, Alan, Gina. Gina got in right under the wire. Steve and I, by the way, are going to be discussing all this and a lot more with Forbes